I'm going to get really trashy in this video. In my last video, I told you I was going to focus more on using what we have rather than buying new materials, and I'm going to start with fabric scraps that I've been saving in a cookie jar for a long time in my cutting area. Let's put our trash to work and make some fiber art. Hey folks, I'm Lucy at Ballyhoo Creations, where I design dolls and plushies and puppets that you can stitch with your embroidery machine or sewing machine. If the idea of raw edges unraveling on fabric freaks you out and is just too messy for your taste, this technique might not be for you. But this messy patchwork is stable and it won't unravel for two reasons. One is that it's stitched down pretty good, and two, we can cut our fabric pieces on the bias to prevent the threads from unraveling, and I'll talk more on that later. I'm going to show you this method of stitching all your tiny scraps together using your embroidery machine and where to get designs for it. This technique can also be done on a sewing machine. It will just take longer. A few of you have seen this technique in a previous video, but a lot of you never watched that video. So I'm going to get into this a little bit more today with more examples. In that old video, it was really about sustainability, but in this one, we're still using materials that would typically get thrown in the trash, but I'll focus a little bit more on the method and the creativity. This technique is very similar to the Japanese art of Boro, which is a visible mending technique often used with sashiko, but we're going to do it the lazy way with an embroidery machine. I like lazy. And instead of being very intentional, we're going to be messy and haphazard with lots of raw edges. So let me show you how to make this fiber art. To get started, I dumped out all my scraps on the table and then sorted them by color so that I could have some color coordinated pieces of compound fabric. So I put like pinks and purples together. You see some blues and greens. I had a lot of black and white. There's a lot of pinks. Just, you know, sort however you want to do it. For better results, I like to iron the pieces that are really wrinkly, like these cotton quilting fabrics. So I just, a quick press with the iron, and then that way they'll lay flat and your presser foot won't get stuck on them as much. And then I'm just hooping a piece of stabilizer in whatever size hoop that you want to use. I'm even using scraps of stabilizer that I stitched together on my sewing machine. It doesn't even, like, I didn't even bother with the tension. You can see it's kind of puckered there. It doesn't matter. This is just to hold the fabric. We're not really stabilizing the stitching because these are all running stitches anyway. And I did a placement stitch. The design that I'm using has a placement stitch showing the area that it's going to do all the stitches. So I'm just placing my pieces of pink scraps in there. Sometimes I cut them down a little smaller. Just overlap them however you want. I'm going to kind of fast forward. You can see how I've got everything layered, just kind of crisscross. Some things are going under, some are going over. And I'm happy with how this looks. Then I just put that on the machine and start stitching the pattern to tack everything down. Now, a note for you, depending on your machine, you might need to put a topper over all of these pieces of fabric. It really depends on if your embroidery machine is going to push things around. If your presser foot is lower, it might move your fabric. So you could use either a water-soluble topper, you could use a translucent piece of fabric like some tulle netting or organza or something like that. All of those work. You know your machine better. Try it both ways, see what you like better. I said I would talk more about how to cut fabric so that they don't unravel. Unravel and fray are two different things. So this is a square of fabric, and I'm using this piece of fabric where you can clearly see threads. The warp and the weft are very visible in this fabric. And you can see on the straight edges here, I can just pull those threads off, and that's unraveling, where the threads are actually coming out. I can do it on both sides. I can unravel the fabric when I'm parallel to the warp and weft. So we're, 90-degree angle. However, if you cut it on the bias, you can do a true bias, which is a 45-degree angle, or you can do a different angle. It doesn't matter. But you see, these threads here, they won't actually unravel. They will fray and give you a nice frayed edge, but they get locked in because they're at 90-degree angles to each other. Sometimes I'll even take a wire brush and brush this out to make edges fray. Maybe you can stretch it a little bit. and you get that nice frayed edge instead of an unraveled edge. So if you want to cut your pieces of fabric on the bias so that you get these nice frayed edges instead of the fabrics unraveling, you can do that. If you're using designs that have a lot of open areas, you might want to do the bias cut on your fabric scraps. However, if you have a lot of stitches that are closer together, then this kind of unraveling, I mean, you may only have a centimeter of it sticking out anyway, because there's going to be another stitch that's going to hold it down. So that's just something to consider. If you want to have this nice frayed edge on all of your scraps, you can do that. That's the bias cut trick I was talking about. Now you can see I started out with all of these scraps. Look at all those scraps. And now I'm down to just this. That's all I have left. And I even did those blue ones a little bit later. So stash busted. And let's tour all the finished pieces. I can't wait to use some of these. This one on the top was some Wizard of Oz, like a fabric collection that I put all together, and it's just got some stitched, you know, Frankenstein stabilizer on the back. There's 2 pieces of that. I had so many scraps. The pink one has, one of them has like circles for stitching, and it makes it look kind of bubbly. Some of these just have zigzags, just an open zigzag, so it's very simple. That's all the purples I had. I had a lot of those. And then I had a lot of black and white fabrics because I use those a lot. Some of them I even took some like fabric flowers and just machine stitched those on. I didn't use the embroidery machine. I used the sewing machine for those flowers on the top. This one, instead of stabilizer, I actually used a striped fabric for my backing, and that worked just fine. And on another one, I'm getting to that in just a second, I actually used a stretch fabric instead of stabilizer, so I hooped the stretch fabric. Now, that wasn't the best idea because the fabric does stretch, but it did work. And then you can even see like a little fur yarn, little pieces of fur. Sometimes I just wiggle those around and those get stitched in, and it gives a lot of texture. These are some older ones that I did too. I mean, I've got like a dozen. And here's the one with that stretch backing. It's more drapey this way, but the stretch fabric didn't hold its shape too great, but it did. I mean, it still worked. I was surprised how well it actually worked. Some examples of how you can use this. I like to use it for ragdoll bodies or art dolls. Here's a black and white one. It's really quirky and creepy, and I like it that way. You could use it for applique or reverse applique. You could make coasters or placemats or mug rugs, things like that. I've even made a table runner by stitching multiple 8x12 pieces together. You could use it for patches. Here's some jeans. Basically, you could just use it like any other fabric of a similar weight or thickness. It does tend to be thicker, so keep that in mind. You can even join pieces together to make a large piece for a bigger project. I showed this turquoise one in my video on quilting with your embroidery machine, and it just makes a big piece that I can make something else with. Now that you've seen how to do this scrappy technique and you've seen some examples of using this patchy fabric, where can you get the embroidery designs to try it out? Well, any design intended for In the Hoop Quilting can be used for this technique. Just be sure that your fabric pieces are big enough so multiple lines of stitching will sew over each piece. Some quilting designs have large open spaces in them, and the smaller scraps will just fall right off. You can do an internet search for In the Hoop quilt designs and you'll get pages of results with just about every motif you can think of. If you're not ready to buy a design but you want to test this out, you can join my email list and get the free waves design. Don't worry, I don't send out many emails because I'm really kind of lazy, but I am working on it. Another tip that I'll share, consider using decorative threads such as metallics or variegated colors. This is a good place to experiment and put those to use. If you want the thread to blend into the fabric rather than stand out, try a thinner weight like a 60 weight thread for your top thread, even bobbin thread in your top thread. Experiment. Play around, make some fiber art with materials that you would normally throw in the trash. See? I told you it was going to be a trashy video. See you later, folks.